Welcome to Research Business Daily Report. I'm Bob Lederer. Today we have our annual Super Bowl advertising preview event. And with us today to talk about what will be on the screen on Sunday during breaks during the Super Bowl game, David Paull, the CEO of DialSmith, as well as Engages. Engages, is that the name of the new company, David?
Engages, yeah.
Okay. Alex Hunt, the president of System 1 Research, and Bonnie Janzen, the executive vice president from Decision Analyst. Welcome to all three of you, and thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Bonnie, let's start with you. Do you see anything different in the ads that you have noticed this week from what we have been accustomed to in earlier Super Bowls?
So one of the trends that we're seeing, and again, not all the ads are released, and the teasers that we've seen.
It's been a little slower this year, hasn't it?
Yeah, it seems that it has, and it may be that they're trying to build a little more anticipation as we lead up to that day. But of what we have seen, we certainly see a lot of humor, a lot of comedic relief. There's a lot of really funny underlining undertones, as well as the comedy and the comedians that are in the ads.
Okay. Alex, I know that you and David agree with what Bonnie just said. Why would that be? Can you put a finger on it?
I think people have had enough of politics. And after this season, people have definitely had enough of politics in the NFL. And smart advertisers are tapping into humor, which is a very effective way to drive feeling and therefore effective advertising. And where they are going for slightly more substantive creative, it's with a social conscience but a very light touch. The tearjerkers seen in previous years haven't come out yet, and we'll find out obviously on Sunday whether or not that is a trend that comes through in the game as well.
Okay. David?
Similarly, I think I can imagine in every Super Bowl advertising war room, as brands and their agencies are trying to figure out what to do, I'm sure what was echoed consistently is people need a break. People need something light. There's been a lot of stress, and a lot of controversy for a lot of people in the last year and a half. So we're seeing two extremes. We're seeing humor and we're seeing social consciousness, like Alex said, perfectly with a light touch. But I think it's that lightheartedness or feel good that I think we're really going to see trend through.
Okay. Have any of the three of you had any insight, perhaps, about Me Too being part of anybody's campaign?
I haven't heard definitively. I've been curious if that will be touched upon, but I haven't heard.
Alex, nothing from you?
No, nor have I. What we've seen is brands, in the pre-releases at least, playing it really safe. And that's a smart strategy. And by playing it safe, they're tapping into existing distinct assets that they have. M&M's is a terrific pre-release with Danny DeVito, to taking that distinct asset to the next level, and generally staying away from politics and very controversial subject matter. As I said, people have had enough politics in the NFL this year, I think.
Bonnie, you're the only female here. Do you agree with?
So in terms of the Me Too movement, I think it is very risky for a brand to use that as part of their advertising, only because we could find the news cycles happen so quickly. If something were to happen as we go through this week or this weekend, it could reflect badly on their management or their board or their brand. So I just think it's a very important social movement, but also a very dangerous thing potentially to tie your brand to in terms of this advertising.
Okay. Every year, when the advertising starts to pop up as the game gets closer and closer, the question inevitably comes out about whether you get your bang for the buck from a Super Bowl ad. Alex, we're going to start with you. Are advertisers going to likely get the bang for the buck that they want?
I think they are. They're not necessarily going to be able to measure it precisely, but the most successful brands in the world are famous brands, right? They're more mentally available, and the more mentally available a brand is to the greater number of people, the more often it is to be chosen more of the time than anything else. And there's no platform better than the Super Bowl to make yourself mentally available to a absolutely astonishingly large group of people. So if you're building a brand, absolutely you'll get bang for your buck on your Super Bowl advertising.
Bonnie, I'm sure you agree, but you might have a little bit different rationale.
Yeah, I agree. And one of the things that we always think about as well is that this is a larger strategy for many of these brands. This is a kickoff to a new campaign, or it's something that's integrated in a lot of communication, packaging, other things that are going on. So it's not just the Super Bowl ad in and of itself. It's the further strategy and communication plan, as well as we know that you're trying to communicate with customers, employees, shareholders, potentially others in your industry or in retail. So there's a lot of audiences you may be targeting.
David?
Yeah, I mean, it's the ultimate buzz. It's the biggest advertising event of the year, in addition to one of the biggest sporting events, of course. I think, like Alex said, ROI is very hard to measure on something like this, but I think there's one of two ways to approach it. Either you go really, really big, make a splash during the game and try to capture that lightning in the bottle, or you develop a campaign around it and you give it legs to last on throughout the year.
Last thoughts about what we're going to see on Sunday. David, why don't you start us off?
Well, I'm curious to see what we've heard about regarding some 6-second micro spots. I know in the past, in addition to a few 60s and 30s, there have also been some 15s. And I've read a little bit about potentially some 6-second micro spots as well. So I'm really curious about that.
Actually, one of the things that I wanted to bring up is obviously we know everyone who's watching the Super Bowl, and like you do in normal times at your home, they will be on multiple screens. We'll have people with on their phone, on their tablet while they're on watching the game. So they may be looking things up. They may be searching stats. They may be looking up other commercials. So I think most advertisers have already played into and have thought about how they might be able to have multiple screens. And Kraft, for example, is going to have people taking pictures of family members, and maybe you can be on the commercial that they're going to release. So, so I think all of those social media things would be very exciting to see how the brands are integrating them.
Well, for me, the most interesting thing is how advertisers are going to play the Super Bowl real time. We saw last year that Hyundai did that and made an ad during the game. The world is getting quicker and quicker and quicker. So the degree to which advertisers are going to play real time. We at System 1 will be testing every single spot in real time in a live ranking. You can access that at superbowl.system1group.com. So join us for the live event and we'll see which advertisers.
And as soon as the game is over, you will have those ratings available for everybody to see. I mean, you say it'll be on during the game as well.
It'll be available as ads air.
Okay,
Absolutely.
Great. Okay, and I have one thing that I'm looking at, and that is during the regular NFL season, I know that CBS and Fox in particular, but I think NBC as well, who is televising this game, at least a couple of times in the game, maybe twice each half, would actually have, during a 30-second timeout, a split screen, where on the left you would see one team's coach with their players all huddled up, and on the other side of the screen, and it would be pre-introduced as such, here's a message from, and the advertiser is named. That would be quite a departure for a Super Bowl game, considering how much money is being expended by everybody to put an ad on that game. So it'd be interesting to see if they do it, and then to get an explanation of exactly how that got integrated into the advertising scheme that NBC employs. So we'll see. I want to thank David Paull, the CEO of DialSmith, Alex Hunt, the president of System 1 Research, and Bonnie Janzen, the executive vice president of Decision Analyst, for your insights today. And I want to wish everybody a good research day. Hope that their research week runs well. Everybody enjoy the game on Sunday as well as the weekend in general. And we will look forward to seeing you back here with us on Monday.